Moving into cell and other data conversions, I'm going to now open up active data, but I wanted to just show you the split sheet function, which we're going to talk through, and we could do it by group and date. We're going to do it by date, and I want to show you that. And the cell conversion toolkit as well, which I do want to walk through with you as well. Active data is something that will load directly into the menu bar of, or ribbon of Excel, and provide you all of the features here. For the most part, this doesn't change too much, but some advancements to the product might change things around just a little bit. I just wanted to check here real quickly. Yeah, so I noticed the reason I opened this up was I noticed there were a few more added that I wanted to talk about today than what I had in that picture on the slide. So again, you always see the product is always kind of advancing a bit along the way. Okay, so starting off, I wanted to show you a couple of things that actually clients of mine showed me with the product that they use, and I probably should have showed them, but one of them is splitting the sheet by date. So here we have a sheet. The worksheets are below here. Each one of these is a worksheet. It is saved in a workbook, which is the actual file name. So that's the actual file. Again, the sheet's down below. So you can have multiple workbooks open. So you can have like the revenue file open, which I can do here. I'll open the general ledger one, for lack of a better one. Bear with me one second. We'll talk about this one in this crazy test here in a second. But if I wanted to utilize this, let's say if I'm in active data and I wanted to compare sheets, compare the invoice file to the general ledger file. It's a little hard to see, and we're going to do this a little bit later, but you notice here you have the workbook, the worksheets, workbook, and then sheets. So I could compare this with a worksheet that exists in a different workbook, and we will talk through the compare feature. But I wanted to get you the concept of what is a sheet versus what is a workbook, and hopefully that helped in showing that. And then we have kind of the analysis commands, which we just talked through, which are the variety of basically audit commands. This was kind of built for the auditor. This other work over here was really built for accountants. You'll find is that a lot of accounting people use active data and never realize they have things that are in kind of the audit section, and probably vice versa. The auditors focus more here and not on the sheets. In the split sheet function, though, back to the topic at hand, I can split the sheet by date, and let's say I want to do it by check date, or maybe enter date is a good one. Now I could do it by month, and it'll create many sheets, but by year is useful. Maybe even by day of week, if you wanted to just kind of set that up as well. I'm just going to take a look. Yeah, so the settings aren't really that useful here, but the year by year, I'm going to click on finished. And what it's done is it's basically broken out based on the entered date. These are the 2010 items are now in that sheet. The 2009 items are in this sheet, and the 2008 items are in this sheet. So you could utilize this if, there are a few different things that you could do. You could do pivot tables to summarize and compare years, but this might be a way of comparing years of data. 8 we have a little bit, 9 we have, as you can see in a small version, we have a lot more. And 10 we probably have, not as much as 9, but a fair amount as well. So again, the split function allows you to kind of split up those sheets. And let me just delete that. What we could also do is, oh wow, see, so I even went back to I had entered dates for some reason back in 2001. Let me just get rid of those. Alright, and back to the sheet here. So back to the invoices paid. You could split by group as well. And the splitting by group might allow you to split it by vendor number, by, etc. But as you notice there, you don't want to do it and split it by vendor number and end up with 5,000 sheets. Maybe something like transaction type or payment type or something might be useful, and wouldn't create that many worksheets that you'd have to work with. But again, great function, a little more advanced, but yet still quite simple, in approach. What I find is this isn't really so much advanced as saving you a lot of time of sorting and cutting and pasting and etc. Okay, moving on to the cell conversion, which is what I do like to spend a fair amount of time on. What I find is that the VLOOKUP command that I use quite a bit, can get confused at times, and I'm pretty sure I can confuse it here pretty quickly. And let me just show you what I mean. We have a number here, 00013, which is, let's say, the PO number. And let's say I want a VLOOKUP, and I'll just say the PO amount, and we're just going to bring that over here. What I can do is, in this VLOOKUP PO amount field, I can enter a VLOOKUP command, which would focus on that field there, and then I would be moving over to my purchase order file, which is over here somewhere, and then kind of focus on this data here. And I like to hit the F4 function because this, as you'll see in a second, we'll use, we kind of want the first cell to be floating while we want these to be fixed. So by adding, by hitting F4, I don't know if I hit it again if it disappears. No, it doesn't really, so I'm probably going to mess things up here. But by hitting F4, it will kind of set that purchase orders A2 to C17 field. And with that said, let's say I wanted to, in going over to that PO field, I wanted to maybe take the second column, and I'm going to enter false. And even Excel 2010 does a nice job here of even kind of showing you the help along the way. So in true, you can do an approximate match using VLOOKUP, but we really want an exact match, and I want to bring over the PO amount into this field when there's an exact match. All right, and okay, we get this NA, and let me just drag this. Bear with me 1 minute. I have all of our work set out for us here so you can see all the spreadsheets, and just making sure I've kind of set things up right. A2 to C17. I wanted to bring over let's say the PO date in that case, but the PO amount is the third column over, so I could change that 2 to a 3, but I still get this NA, and I find that very, very strange. So I can try this again. I can copy this and move over to the right there, and magically I do have a match now. So notice how in this, let's say VLOOKUP PO amount version 1, it didn't work, but in version 2, bear with me, it does work. And so now I have this VLOOKUP. It's bringing over for PO number 13 the amount of $14,522.55. Very neat. Okay, so in doing this, I can now actually copy this all over. It isn't really going to matter. I'm going to keep getting NAs no matter what I do in this PO amount field. And there are a few ways around this. I mean, people kind of come up with their own methods of coming around this. But what I find is just by by basically taking a copy. Let me just do this for a second, and this will now turn everything NA. Notice how I have the 00008 here, and if I go to the purchase orders, it's listed more as a number. So the format here, even though it says general up top here, it is more of a number. Over here, I also have general, but it's this 00008 business, and a lot of times you would just think that would match up. I've noticed instances where you'll have an 8 here, and excuse me 1 sec, let me just put it down here. I can have a 13 here, and okay, so now it is working, but let me try. Yeah, see, it still seems to work okay. I've had instances where you have this 13, and let me add some blank spaces to it. Yep, it's still not throwing it. There are times where, similar to this 00013, which definitely produces that, this 13 over here will just have maybe like a blank space at the end, which Excel isn't really accepting here, and that's why it's giving me trouble. Maybe if I make it more of a text. So now I've created it with an apostrophe, and I've kind of fixed a few blanks after the 13. That isn't matching up now to the purchase orders over here, which really just had a 13. So it got rid of, or this got rid of the leading or the trailing spaces in that cell. Okay, why am I kind of showing you all this? It really goes to this active data function, which is a cell conversion function, and we can do a few things. I mean, if it is a word, we might want to bring it up to proper case if that's what's in both fields, or uppercase if you want to bring both fields there. But I find even just removing all spaces is a very good thing up front that you might want to do. I might even say down here, remove non-alphanumeric characters, and what that'll do is it'll get rid of any space or apostrophe mark or anything really. So if I say remove non-alphanumeric characters, I am going to confirm that in active data. And upon doing that, just because, as we noted before, that will lead to this PO number matching, because not only did it, in removing the characters there, it basically got rid of all of the leading zeros, but also kind of the alphanumeric characters. I'm pretty sure I set that up right, because really that was 13, but it was kind of listed as 00013. So that's one approach. Another approach that you might want to take is just even to go one step further and then set that cells to text. So you kind of select cells to text, confirm it, and that now kind of brought it back to a bad situation, right? So now everything's NA. But then I can come over here and I can also say cells to text, basically following kind of the same approach on both fields, and now every item is matching based on that 1-3. So it's something where active data does allow you to do quite a bit of cell conversions. I first off, as I spent a lot of time on it, I like to really use it for VLOOKUP, because it just seems to be something where this kind of takes away the mystery of whether or not VLOOKUP is going to work for me. And the key here is that you want to apply whatever you've done to one field, you want to go over to that other field, and let's say we convert and say remove non-alphanumeric characters. Let's do that one first, and then go cells to text. So now we've done both procedures. That will kind of ensure that what is in the invoice file is also in that PO file, and then matching up. Other things though that you might want to do is really just cleaning up files so that you can do more matching of employee to vendors. And that was one thing that we did in the beginner class, where bringing things up to proper case. Let me try to find some words here for you, like the vendor file. We can very quickly here convert the selected cells and cell text to uppercase. One thing that I need to note here is that these operations can't be undone. So it's usually a very good idea. I wasn't going to do it there, but it's usually a good idea to actually make a copy of that particular field. Maybe call it version 2 or something. And now in this version 2 field, you can convert it and do whatever you like, I guess. Let's say remove non-alphanumeric characters. That's always a good one. Let's take care of that. And then turn everything to uppercase. And now you have a field that's very quickly converted. You could do this in the vendor file, do this in the employee file, and you're kind of off to the races in your matching functions. Other things that I find useful is removing hyperlinks. So if let me try to. Okay, here's one where we have these hyperlinks, which are really annoying. Like you could click on them and it brings you to some other sheet or something like that. So a lot of times to get rid of them, it's hard to like click on the field. So you could click on the column and then say remove hyperlinks, and it removes the hyperlinks. So it's something where it really speeds up a lot of things, and I find the cells to text is something that is quite useful. I have noticed the cells to dates. This is probably not the right field to, oh geez, that converted that to a date, and it can't be undone, but that's okay. But a lot of times it'll ask you how to do the conversion as well, if it gets confused. Let's go over to that PO file again. Let's say you really like the concept of leading zeros in your data. And this is a bit of a new feature that wasn't in the slides, but I did want to show it to you. One thing that you can do is to add leading zeros to the actual PO number, and you could say, what is your desired column width? So you could say 8 characters, or I think actually the other one might have been 5 characters, but I could be wrong. We can fix it, and then we'll hit the confirm button, and voila. Except for number 1 here, which I think I set it to text or something, it converted it. Let me try that again. That was odd that that's not working for us. We'll make this 5. Okay, so excuse me, I may not have selected it for some reason, but now I have PO numbers that are all in this leading zero format, which is very similar or the same as what's in this column here in the kind of old PO number. Again, adding leading zeros, it can be a real pain to do. I mean, you can definitely do it manually by, equal, let's say in quotes here, put 0, 0, 0, and then you never know, well, if it's going to be 1 digit, I could add 4 zeros, but if it's 2-digit number like this one, I got to add 3 zeros to that one, so now I need an equal if, and it can get really confusing, to do this manually, and Active Data kind of does it in one fell stroke.